Here's everything you need to know about France heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. The reputation of choking on the big stage has followed France since their fourth place finish in 2011. But this summer, on home soil, Les Bleus just might have the right collection of pieces to shed that label. They certainly have the respect of their opponents.
I think France has a little bit of everything, you know. They're physical, they're speedy, they're technical.
France is as tough as any nation going forward. Captain Amandine Henry will lead a team loaded with talent and an attack that includes stars like Eugénie Le-Sommer, a proven goal scorer, and Kadiatou Diani, who torched the U.S. for 2 goals in a friendly in January.
When you play against France, it's a different feeling than any other opponent, what they're capable of, the quality of players that they have.
France, the 4th-ranked nation in the world, drew South Korea, Norway, and Nigeria in Group A. They're going to open up the tournament in Paris against South Korea. If both France and the U.S. win their groups and the round of 16 matches, then 2 of the best teams in the world would meet in Paris in the quarterfinals, arguably much earlier than either nation would want to face the other.
Here's everything you need to know about South Korea heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. South Korea took the long route to gain entry to France. First, by having to win a qualifying tournament just to make it to the AFC Women's Asian Cup. Once there, they won the 5th place game over the Philippines to book the 5th and final spot for the Asian continent at the Women's World Cup. Will the experience gained from a grueling qualifying campaign help them this summer? Well, they do have one of the best defensive squads heading into France, conceding just 2 goals in qualifying. They'll need to continue that defensive dominance if they want to advance out of the group stage for the 2nd time in their history. France, Norway, and Nigeria await them in Group A. Ji So-yoon is the star of the squad, scoring 4 goals in the qualifying rounds of the Asian Cup. She won her first international cap at the age of 15, and South Korea's attack begins with the Chelsea playmaker. South Korea is playing in its 3rd Women's World Cup. In 2015, they advanced out of the group for the first time. They'll open the tournament against France in Paris.
Here's everything you need to know about Norway heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. One of the traditional powers in women's soccer, Norway won the 1995 tournament in Sweden and has qualified for every single Women's World Cup. The Grasshoppers won 7 out of 8 matches in their qualifying group, which included reigning European champions, the Netherlands, not an easy task. And in March, Norway won the Algarve Cup in Portugal, a tournament that featured 7 nations who qualified for France this summer. All of the success is even more impressive when you consider who isn't on the pitch for Norway. Ada Hegerberg, widely considered the best striker in the world, who refuses to play for the national team. The winner of the inaugural Women's Ballon d'Or in 2018, Hegerberg announced after Euro 2017 that she wouldn't play for Norway again until the federation increased its support for women's soccer at every level. Despite Hegerberg's absence, Norway still has plenty of attacking options, beginning with Caroline Graham Hansen, who scored 6 goals in qualifying and starred in the Algarve Cup. Lisa Marie Utland will also be counted on for goals. Norway's tournament begins against Nigeria, another nation who has competed in every Women's World Cup. They'll follow that with matches against France and South Korea. The Grasshoppers have all the pieces, even without Hegerberg, to make it out of Group A.
Here's everything you need to know about Nigeria heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. The Nigerians booked their trip to France by winning the Women's African Cup of Nations, but they didn't breeze past the competition, winning both the semifinals and final in penalty kicks. The Super Falcons are one of only 7 nations to compete in every Women's World Cup, but have only advanced out of the group stage once. To do so this summer, they'll have to navigate a difficult Group A. The Super Falcons open their tournament against a very tough Norway squad before facing host France and Nice before closing out group play against South Korea. To have a chance of reaching the knockout round, Desiree Oparanozie and Asishat Oshawala will need to find the back of the net. Oparanozie led qualifying with 6 goals, and Oshawala, the 3-time Best African Player of the Year, contributed 5. Their coach, Thomas Dennerby, previously managed Sweden to a 3rd-place finish at Germany 2011. As is often the case with Nigeria, the pieces are there, but can they make an impact on the biggest stage?
Here's everything you need to know about Germany heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. The 2-time champions will head to France as the 2nd-ranked team in the world.
Germany's probably the team that I respect the most because they share a very similar mentality to us. I think collectively they're super strong.
Jennifer Marasan is the star. She's Germany's number 10, and she'll drive the attack.
Super creative, range of passing is ridiculous. Finishing ability is so strong.
When I put the jersey on, I just try to give my best for my team and for everyone in this country. And it's a really wonderful feeling as well. I'm really proud of that.
Alexander Popp is a versatile playmaker who could be utilized up top or in the midfield. Rounding out the attack is Svenja Huth, who will be looked upon to score goals up front. To be successful, Germany will need to get comfortable with new head coach Martina Voss-Tecklenburg fast. In a crazy turn of events, Voss-Tecklenburg was appointed Germany head coach while she was still coaching Switzerland in World Cup qualifying. The Swiss made it all the way to a qualifying playoff, which they lost. But the extra matches meant Voss-Tecklenburg's first game in charge of Germany wasn't until February of this year. In Group B, they'll face China, Spain, and South Africa. And they can't get caught overlooking their group stage opponents as their male counterparts did in Russia last summer. Finishing second in Group B means a round of 16 matchup against the winner of Group F, widely expected to be the United States. The Germans will definitely want to avoid that potential showdown so early in the knockout round.
Here's everything you need to know about China heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. China's qualification for France was pretty straightforward. As one of the 3 nations to enter directly into the 2018 AFC Women's Asian Cup, the Steel Roses won their group, then lost to Japan in the semifinals, and booked their spot with a 3-1 win over Thailand in the 3rd place match. Wang Shuang, the 2-time reigning Chinese Player of the Year, is the star of the team, scoring 4 goals in qualifying. Shuang plays with a flair that is reminiscent of Chinese legend Sun Wen. Shuang won the 2018 Asian Women's Footballer of the Year award. She's joined up top by Wang Shangchang, another proven goal scorer. At the 2018 Asian Games, Shangchang came off the bench in the 56th minute and proceeded to score 9 goals against Tajikistan. Yes, I said 9 goals in 34 minutes. The Steel Roses begin Group B play against Germany, the 2nd-ranked team in the world, then face South Africa before closing out group play against Spain. If China is to get out of the group, they'll need to shore up their back line, which was exposed at the 2019 Algarve Cup. The Steel Roses finished dead last, 12th out of 12 teams.
Here's everything you need to know about Spain heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. Outside of the hosts who qualified automatically, Spain were the first European team to book their spot in France. They did so in convincing fashion too, winning all 8 of their qualifying matches. That's quite the accomplishment for a nation that only made their Women's World Cup debut in 2015. Vicky Losada scored Spain's first ever World Cup goal, and the midfielder said La Roja has made major progress since.
I think we have a style and a personality that is gonna make a big difference.
Jennifer Hermoso led the team with 7 goals in qualifying and was one of 11 players to score over the 8 matches. Known as Jenny, she is to Spain what Marta is to Brazil. Hermoso is the offensive engine of this team. Spain isn't a one-player team, however. Much of their strength comes from their team defense. They conceded just 2 goals in qualifying. Central defender Irene Paredes is a force and also contributed 4 goals in qualifying, good for 2nd most on the team. For all of Spain's success in qualifying, they didn't get much luck at the draw last December. After their opener against South Africa, La Roja will face Germany and China, 2 nations with a wealth of experience on the big stage. Spain is still looking for their first ever win at a Women's World Cup and will have no better chance than their opening match against South Africa.
Here's everything you need to know about South Africa heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. After several World Cup cycles just missing out, South Africa finally qualified for their first Women's World Cup in December.
It's something I think about to this day. When that whistle blew and we qualified for the World Cup was a sign of relief for me, because it's something that I've dreamt about my whole career, to participate in a World Cup, to lead my team in a World Cup, and I can finally say that I'm going to be living my dream.
When we qualified last year and I saw Janine cry again, you know, this time for the right reasons for qualifying for the World Cup, I knew deep down that it was an amazing feeling, not only for her, but for everyone who waited for South Africa to qualify for the World Cup.
Former Houston Dash striker Thembi Kgatlana gives the team reason for hope. The 2018 African Women's Footballer of the Year scored 5 goals in qualifying, and she can also play multiple positions on the offensive side of the ball.
my speed will always stand out. My speed and my skill will always stand out, whether I play as a striker or whether I play as a winger.
As a reward for qualifying for their first ever finals, South Africa got Germany, China, and Spain. Yikes, a brutal draw for Banyana Banyana. If they're going to be competitive in their group stage matches, South Africa will need to improve after their disappointing showing at the Cyprus Cup in March, where they lost to 3 nations who failed to qualify for France. Regardless of the result, June 8th against Spain will be a historic day for women's soccer in South Africa.
Here's everything you need to know about Australia heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. Australia is back for its 7th consecutive Women's World Cup and are led by one of the most dynamic goal scorers in the world, Sam Kerr. Kerr won the NWSL Golden Boot each of the last 2 seasons, but that's not the only dangerous part of her game.
She can score incredible goals, but she can also set up so much for her teammates, and the way she is technically, the way that she can hold on to the ball, and she kind of has it all.
Kerr will have some help up top from Caitlin Ford, who missed World Cup qualifying due to injury, but the Portland Thorns striker will be playing in her 3rd finals and has 16 career goals for the Matildas. Perhaps the biggest concern for Australia was the controversial firing of Alen Stajcic in January. Stajcic led the Matildas in Canada 4 years ago at the Rio Olympics in 2016 and through qualifying, but was fired earlier this year for concerns over player welfare issues. He was replaced by Ante Milicic, who did lead the team to promising results at the inaugural Cup of Nations this year, recording wins over 3 World Cup-bound teams: New Zealand, South Korea, and Argentina.
Sometimes change can be good, and at the time it didn't seem like the right thing, but it's kind of worked out in our favour. We're enjoying working under Ante. He's brought a true professional team together, and I think he's been a really refreshing stand-in, and hopefully he can stay for a long time because the girls really love him.
A seeded team at the draw for the first time in its history. Australia will begin group play against Italy, who returns to the finals after a 20-year absence. They'll then square off against Brazil, who they beat in the round of 16 in 2015, and will round out group play against newcomers Jamaica. Australia will be looking to break its quarterfinal curse. The Matildas have lost in the round of 8 at each of the last 3 Women's World Cups. But if Sam Kerr is in top goal-scoring form, this could be the year they do it.
Here's everything you need to know about Italy heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. After a 20-year absence, Italy are back at the Women's World Cup. The Azzurri won their first 7 matches in a difficult European qualifying group, losing only once on the final match day after their spot in France had already been clinched. A pair of Juventus stars will lead the attack. Cristiana Giroli scored 7 goals in qualifying, while pacey winger Barbara Bonansea added 3 more. Bonansea will be joined in the midfield by Daniela Sabatino and Aurora Galli. Both will be expected to chip in goals and assists. Italy's first World Cup match since 1999 is against Australia, the 6th-ranked team in the world. They'll follow that with newcomers Jamaica before a showdown with Brazil, who eliminated them in the group stage in their last appearance at the finals. Italy will feel they can make some noise in France, however, especially after finishing 2nd at the Cyprus Cup each of the last 2 years. This year, the Italians scored 15 goals in 4 matches, proof their attack is in good form. Italy's head coach Milena Bertolini said after the Cyprus Cup that her squad's primary objective is to make it out of the group stage. If they can get a result against Australia in their opener, look out.
Here's everything you need to know about Brazil heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. You've always got a chance when you have Marta on your side. Brazil's living legend has 15 Women's World Cup goals, the most in tournament history.
I think Marta's the best soccer player to ever play the game. She's always been an inspiration of the kind of way that football should be played.
The 6-time FIFA World Player of the Year will be suiting up for her 5th Women's World Cup. But Brazil will need to be less reliant on their 33-year-old superstar to have success in France. That means rising stars like Davinha and Andressa Alves will need to step up and contribute goals. Brazil once again dominated the South American qualifying tournament, winning all 7 games, scoring 31 goals and conceding just 2. But there have been troubling signs recently. The Seleção went winless at the 2019 She Believes Cup, losing to England, Japan, and the United States. Despite those results, their peers won't be overlooking them in France.
They always kind of pose a threat to us, and they're unpredictable. I think that's the biggest thing.
Brazil begins Group C play against newcomers Jamaica before a showdown with Australia, who knocked them out in the round of 16 at the last World Cup. Brazil finishes group play against an up-and-coming Italy squad who won't fear the South American giants. With opposing defenses focused on containing Marta, Brazil's tournament hopes likely rest on the ability of its younger stars to make an impact.
Here's everything you need to know about Jamaica heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup.
Jamaica are going to the Women's World Cup for the first time ever.
The Cinderella story of qualifying, Jamaica finished third at the CONCACAF Women's Championships to earn their first trip to the Women's World Cup. The Reggae Girls certainly earned it too. Jamaica's 12-match qualification journey is tied with the Netherlands for the longest of any team heading to France, a testament to the team's toughness. The island nation restarted its women's national team program in 2014 after a long hiatus. Thanks to the fundraising efforts of Bob Marley's oldest daughter, Cedella Marley, and the unwavering support of their head coach, Hugh Menzies, Jamaica, against all odds, became the first Caribbean nation to qualify for a Women's World Cup.
Jamaica being, first time participating in World Cup is something special, and we want to continue to see the CONCACAF nations doing well and succeeding.
So what will fans see on the field?
I expect them to be feisty and really not take this opportunity for granted.
Tennessee volunteer Kadisha Bunny Shaw is the focal point of Jamaica's attack. A strong, powerful forward, Shaw scored 19 goals during Jamaica's 12-match qualification run. She'll partner in the attack with Trudy Carter, who plays for Roma in Italy and can line up as a forward or attacking midfielder. Jamaica's first World Cup group includes Australia, Italy, and Brazil, a difficult task for any nation, even a squad as resilient as the Reggae Girls. I think this team will be the sweethearts of the tournament. Many will write Jamaica's knockout round chances off, but they won't, overcoming long odds in something this team is great at.
Here's everything you need to know about England heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. When England finished third at the 2015 World Cup, it gave the women's game a major boost at home. The Football Association increased its investment in the women's game, as have some of the big Premier League teams, and that investment has paid dividends. England reached the semis of Euro 2017 and recently won the 2019 She Believes Cup, beating Brazil and Japan and drawing the United States. The Lionesses will arrive in France as the third-ranked team in the world. Undefeated in qualifying, England won 7 games and drew 1. They scored 28 goals, but perhaps more impressively, allowed only 1 goal.
England is just so organized. They don't let goals in very easily. You have to appreciate when you do get one past their defense.
Leading the England backline is captain Steph Houghton, who has more than 100 appearances for her country. Lucy Bronze is widely regarded as the best right back in the women's game. In the midfield, Coach Phil Neville will have a decision to make on where to play Fran Kirby. An ACL injury to Jordan Nobbs will keep one of England's key midfielders out of the World Cup. Neville could line up the experienced Kirby in the number 10 role. Up front, the Lionesses have plenty of attacking options, with Manchester City's Nikita Paris and Barcelona's Tony Duggan both more than capable of finding the back of the net. England opens up Group D play against Scotland, who are making their World Cup debut. They'll then face Argentina before their final group match against Japan. Many expect both teams to enter that match with 6 points and their places in the knockout round already booked.
So I think now, going into the World Cup, we're saying, you know what, we can beat any team that is here. We are good enough to beat all of these teams, so why can't we make it to the final? Why can't we lift the World Cup and have that expectation?
The England men fell just short in the semifinals last year in Russia. This summer, will the Women's World Cup finally be coming home?
Here's everything you need to know about Scotland heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. Scotland turned a lot of heads, winning 7 of their 8 qualifying matches, including a 2-1 win over favored Switzerland, which helped secure their first ever Women's World Cup berth. A 5th place finish at the Algarve Cup is another encouraging sign. Scotland won 2 of their 3 matches in Portugal, and in April gained their first ever victory over Brazil. This summer, Scotland will be hoping that 2014 NWSL MVP Kim Little can stay healthy to run their midfield. The Arsenal playmaker has missed some playing time this year, but when she's on the field, she's the key to Scotland's attack. She'll look to link up with Chelsea's Erin Cuthbert, who led the way in qualifying with 4 goals. Scotland will play England in their first ever World Cup match, then face a quality Japan side before finishing group play against an Argentina team they're likely to be favored to beat. Given that 4 third-place finishers will advance to the knockout rounds, don't sleep on the Tartan Terriers. If Scotland can steal a point from either England or Japan, they could do what no Scottish team, men's or women's, has done before: advance out of the group stage at a major tournament.
Here's everything you need to know about Argentina heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. Argentina is back at the Women's World Cup for the first time in 12 years. After finishing third in South American qualifying, they beat CONCACAF Cinderella's Panama in a home-and-home playoff to claim their spot. Argentina is led by a Stephanie Benini, known, of course, as the female Messi, but not just because she wears number 10. Benini contributed 3 goals in qualifying, is a solid dribbler, and will be the focal point of the attack. The biggest concern will be keeping opponents out of their net. At the 2019 Cup of Nations in Australia, Argentina lost all 3 of their games to World Cup-bound opponents, getting outscored 10-0 in the process. And their history at Women's World Cups isn't any better either. Argentina will be looking for their first World Cup win in France and definitely trying to improve on their previous appearances in 2003 and 2007, both last-place finishes. But the draw wasn't very kind to them. They'll open up group play against a very good Japan team, which they faced in their previous 2 World Cups. Then they'll play an England team favored to make a deep run before finishing Group D play against newcomers, Scotland. For Argentina, simply qualifying for France after missing the last 2 tournaments was a major victory.
Here's everything you need to know about Japan heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. Despite being viewed as a team in transition, Japan went unbeaten during an impressive run through qualifying at the AFC Asian Women's Cup. Japan earned draws with Australia and South Korea in the group stage, then beat China in the semifinals and Australia in the final. 4 quality results against 3 World Cup-bound teams. In France, they'll open against Argentina, then square off with newcomer Scotland before a showdown with England. It's not unlikely that both Japan and England will enter that final match with 6 points. So that June 19th game could be winner takes the group. Japan has solid players all over the field. The backline will be anchored by 2011 World Cup winner Shaki Humagai, who plays in the midfield for her club Lyon. Up top, if healthy, Mana Iwabuchi is the main goal-scoring focus and will be playing in her 3rd Women's World Cup. A team much more than a collection of stars, Japan has a very specific style of play, one that exhausts their opponents. When playing Japan, be prepared to spend a lot of time chasing the ball.
For us, we could physically outmatch our opponents. We can keep possession more than our opponents. With Japan, you have to know that they're going to have more possession than you, and they're just so good under pressure and knowing how to get out of tight spaces.
It just seems like they have this technical ability that no one else in the world has.
Another thing they have going for them? Consistency. Japan has never missed a Women's World Cup. They won it in 2011 and were runners-up in 2015. Don't be surprised if they make another deep run in France.
Here's everything you need to know about Canada heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. Canada qualified easily for their 7th consecutive Women's World Cup, finishing 2nd to the United States at the CONCACAF Women's Championship in October. The 2015 tournament hosts will again be led by Christine Sinclair. Canada's longtime captain will be playing in her 5th Women's World Cup. Sinclair is closing on Abby Wambach's all-time international goals record and could break it in France. Sinclair is revered in the women's game even by her biggest rivals.
For me, she's easy top 10 in the world ever, so she's a phenomenal player.
Christine Sinclair is one of those forwards that all you need to give her is half a yard or half a step and she can just capitalize on it.
Sinclair has attacking weapons all around her too. Despite just turning 21, UCLA's Jessie Fleming already has 60 caps for Canada. Fleming will look to link the midfield line with Sinclair and Manchester City's Janine Becky, who can line up both as a striker or an attacking midfielder. The defense is led by Ashley Lawrence and Kadisha Buchanan, who won the Best Young Player at the 2015 World Cup and has since won 2 Champions League titles with Lyon in France. The French term déjà vu is fitting for Canada's group stage opponents. For the 2nd straight World Cup, the Canucks were drawn into a group with the Netherlands and New Zealand. The only difference this time, they'll open group play against Cameroon. Canada's got the pieces to make a deep run in France. Their biggest challenge could be living up to the expectations that come with being the 5th ranked team in the world.
Here's everything you need to know about Cameroon heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. The indomitable Lionesses are back for their second consecutive Women's World Cup. In 2015, Cameroon was the surprise of the tournament, recording wins over Ecuador and Switzerland to advance out of the group in their first ever World Cup appearance. They gained entry to France by finishing third at the 2018 Africa Cup of Nations. But that momentum may have stalled since qualifying last November. Cameroon didn't play any friendlies in the February-March FIFA window, which raises concerns about the team's readiness for France. Not questions you want asked when you consider the group they were drawn into. Cameroon faced 3 very tough tests in Group E. They'll begin play against Canada, the seeded team in the group, before facing Euro 2017 champion Netherlands, and finishing play against Oceania champion New Zealand. A difficult group for any team to navigate. If Cameroon is going to repeat the success they had in the 2015 group stage, they'll lean heavily on the stars of that World Cup run. Ajra Nchut is the creative force in the attack, and Gabrielle Ongene is the team's main goal-scoring threat. Captain Christine Mane will anchor the defense, but also has the ability to contribute on the offensive side of the ball. Cameroon proved everyone wrong in their first Women's World Cup in 2015. Can they do it again this summer in France?
Here's everything you need to know about New Zealand heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. New Zealand is back for their 4th straight Women's World Cup, but their journey to France wasn't without drama. Last June, 12 players wrote letters of complaint about then head coach Andreas Herhoff, threatening to boycott the team due to the culture of bullying and fear he had created. Herhoff resigned and was replaced by former U.S. women's head coach Tom Sermanni, who also led Australia at 3 World Cups. Sermanni was able to right the ship, and the football Ferns, as expected, dominated qualifying at the OFC Nations Cup. But a much more difficult test awaits them in Paris. New Zealand opens up Group E play against Euro 2017 champion the Netherlands, then squares off against Canada before finishing group play against Cameroon. The football Ferns are yet to win a game in their 4 previous Women's World Cups. To do so this summer, they'll rely on team defense and veteran keeper Erin Naylor, playing in her 3rd World Cup. Center back Abby Ursig recently agreed to rejoin the team after briefly retiring in the wake of the coaching situation. Ursig is the team's leader on the field and will be playing in her 4th World Cup. But New Zealand will need to find a spark on the offensive side of the ball. That could come from Sarah Gregorius, who led the team with 8 goals in qualifying. 2 of New Zealand's best goal-scoring threats are recovering from ACL injuries. If both Amber Hearn and Hannah Wilkinson do recover in time, Sermanni will have a decision to make about giving playing time to 2 of his best goal-scoring threats. New Zealand has laid out 2 goals for France. The first, restoring positive team spirit after that turbulent year. The second is getting that elusive first World Cup win.
Here's everything you need to know about the Netherlands heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. The reigning European champions will look to build on their 2015 World Cup debut, in which they advanced out of the group stage. After finishing 2nd in their qualifying group, the Dutch beat both Denmark and Switzerland in the playoffs to punch their ticket to France.
And they're a team that has quality players that have been playing on top teams around the world. So they're a team definitely to look out for.
Those quality players include Barcelona's Lieke Martens, who scored the Netherlands' first ever World Cup goal in 2015. Martens, who won the 2017 FIFA World Player of the Year, is lethal up front and is the face of the team. She's joined in attack by Arsenal's Vivian Miedema and another Dutch striker you can't miss on the field, Lyon's Shanice van de Sanden.
She always wears the red lipstick, and she's always got funky hair. She's like lightning quick on the outside, really good finisher, can set people up.
Every athlete want to play a final, and so I do. I really want to play the final. Like, it's 5 minutes from my apartment in Lyon, so it's unbelievable if I'm gonna play the final. But for now, I'm focused on the first game, and that's against New Zealand. And then from there, we're gonna see what's gonna happen.
The Netherlands' opponents in France look a lot like their debut group from 4 years ago. The Dutch will again face New Zealand and Canada, with Cameroon rounding out Group E. All 3 of the Netherlands' group stage matches are in the northern part of France, a very easy trip to make for their already passionate fans. Look for the Dutch group stage matches to be filled with orange-clad supporters. With the same core group of players gaining 4 more years of experience, a fan base that will give them a real advantage, and a European trophy in tow, the Netherlands has all the pieces to make a deep run in France.
Here's everything you need to know about Sweden heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. European heavyweight Sweden won a very difficult group, which included Euro 2017 runner-up Denmark. 10 different players scored for Sweden on their road to France. Kosovare Asllani led the way with 4 goals, and if Sweden's 2017 Player of the Year is in goal-scoring form, look out. The strength in this team, however, is in its defense, led by Nilla Fischer, Sweden's 2018 Player of the Year. Sweden posted 5 shutouts in 7 qualifying games, conceding just 2 goals. Part of what makes them so tough is their ability to line up in multiple formations.
Sweden has always been a difficult opponent. I think they're similar to us and they like to play, but they're also physical. Tactically, they could change, based on the opponent.
They'll face a very familiar opponent in the group stage. For the 6th time in 8 World Cups, Sweden and the United States will meet in the group stage. This summer, they'll square off on the final match day in Le Havre, likely with 1st and 2nd place in Group F on the line.
It's always funny when you meet these opponents in big matches, and they always kind of live up to their hype.
Adding fuel to the fire, Sweden knocked the U.S. out in the quarterfinals of the 2016 Rio Olympics on their way to a silver medal. This summer, Sweden will head to France with the confidence to not only beat the United States, but win the World Cup.
Here's everything you need to know about Thailand heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. Thailand returns for their 2nd Women's World Cup after finishing 4th in the 2018 AFC Women's Asian Cup. Thailand took a very tough Australian side to penalty kicks in the semi-final before losing to China in the 3rd place match. They'll rely on playing a tight bunker-in style of defensive play in France. Their head coach, Ngrutai Satongvian, prefers a 5-3-2 formation that is difficult for opponents to break down, and they'll need to be tough on defense. Thailand begins group play against defending World Cup champion, the United States, who will be eager to get their tournament started with a win. The 2 sides met only once in 2016, with the US winning 9-0. Another difficult test in European powers Sweden awaits Thailand in their 2nd match before closing out Group F against Chile. No player on Thailand will be more excited for the opening match against the United States than Cal Berkeley striker Miranda Nil. The 21-year-old California native qualifies for Thailand through her father and counts Alex Morgan as her idol. Nilt scored 4 goals in qualifying and called the opening match against the United States a dream matchup for her. She'll be joined in attack by Kanyana Sungyeon, who will again lead the team in France. Sungyeon scored 4 goals in the AFC Women's Asian Cup. 4 years ago, Thailand came away from their first Women's World Cup with 1 win out of 3. If they can beat Chile in their final group stage match, this tournament will be considered a success.
Here's everything you need to know about Chile heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. Chile finished 2nd at the Copa America Femenina to clinch their 1st ever Women's World Cup berth. Hosting the tournament proved a boost for La Roja as they played in front of sellout crowds of 16,000 in each of their matches. They strung together some positive results in the 2nd half of last year, including a 2-1 win over World Cup bound South Africa, and most notably, a 3-2 win at Australia. That result was one of the biggest surprises in the women's game last year. Chile's group in France is a challenging one. They'll make their World Cup debut against European heavyweight Sweden before a date in Paris with the United States, the top-ranked team in the world. Chile's final group stage match is against Thailand, and one they'll go into thinking they can win. To do that, they'll need production up top from Maria Jose Rojas and Yanara Aedo. The pair forms a solid strike partnership for Chile. Aedo is the team's number 10, the fastest player on the squad, and is the creative force of the team. One thing Chile has going for them is the respect of the reigning World Cup champs, whom they faced twice in the past year.
They've got individual players with a lot of flair. They're very good on the ball, very good in tight spaces, and you really have to keep track of them because they can be very tricky and they try things that other teams won't try to do. And so sometimes it's really hard to defend that.
They work really hard on the defensive side of the ball too.
I think it was actually more difficult than we would have liked to break them down. And I think that it kind of showed us that against different opponents, we need to have different tools.
Goalkeeper Christiane Endler is the team's best player and leader of the squad. She posted 4 clean sheets in World Cup qualifying and will need to be at her best against Sweden and the United States. Regardless of the results in their first 2 matches, Chile qualifying for their first World Cup is already a huge success for the South American nation.
Here's everything you need to know about the United States heading into the FIFA Women's World Cup. The reigning Women's World Cup champs arrive in France as the top-ranked team in the world and a favorite to lift the trophy in Lyon. Already the most successful nation in women's soccer history, this team has made their intentions very clear.
Winning it all, every game. Even if we weren't the favorite, the expectation always stays the same with this team. It's win or bust.
The talent and depth on the attacking side of the ball is without question. Megan Rapinoe, Alex Morgan, and Tobin Heath form as deadly a front line as any team in the world. All three are capable of scoring at any moment in any game. The midfield will be run by 2018 NWSL Player of the Year Lindsey Horan and 2015 World Cup winner Julie Ertz. Rose Lavelle will likely join them to add pace. That potentially leaves 2015 Golden Ball winner Carly Lloyd, Kristen Press, and Mallory Pugh all on the bench. Those three players are each talented enough to start on any team in the world. So yeah, the offensive depth on this team is real. Consistency on the defensive side of the ball, though, has been hard to come by. The biggest change since 2015 is in goal. Hope Solo hasn't been with the team since 2016, so her former backup, Alyssa Nair, will face her first World Cup action in France. In front of her, Becky Sauerbrunn will anchor a defensive line that has had some up and down performances in 2019. The U.S. lost 3-1 to France in January and finished runners-up at the She Believes Cup on home soil, drawing 2-2 with both Japan and England. Sauerbrunn could be joined in the center of the defense by either Abby Dahlkemper or Tierna Davidson. Crystal Dunn will add pace on the left side, with veterans Kelly O'Hara or Ali Krieger likely lining up on the right. The U.S. opens group play against Thailand before facing newcomers Chile. Neither are squads that should trouble this team. They're going to close out the group stage with Sweden, an opponent they know well, having faced them in the group stage in 6 World Cups. Getting out of this group should not be an issue, so the real tournament will begin for the U.S. in the knockout round. Gunning for them there will be the deepest and most talented field at a Women's World Cup ever.
I think there's always some pressure, obviously being like the reigning World Cup title holders and being ranked #1 in the world, and wanting to continue that dominance, but knowing that the women's game is just ever evolving. It's becoming harder to continue to hold that spot.
The United States' 3 titles are already the most in Women's World Cup history. Should they win it this summer, they'll do something no other U.S. team has ever been able to do: win back-to-back World Cups.